Hello, hello, hello. Good evening, good evening. I hope you're doing amazingly well. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Wherever you're watching me from, please. I would love to see your comments. I would like to see where you're watching me from. Leave a thumbs up just for me to know that I am being heard. Please, if you can hear me, leave a thumbs up so I know I am being heard. If you can hear me, leave a thumbs up. Good evening, good evening, good evening. I hope we're doing amazingly well. I hope we're doing great. It's lovely to have you again on this topic, which is very topical at the moment. It's good to have you all. Good evening, good evening. Thank you. I can see a thumbs up from someone, which means they can hear me loud and clear. Good evening. Please, if you can drop a comment where you're watching me from, I'll be delighted to see your comments. Thank you so very much. Thank you. Great. Where are you watching me from? Please drop a comment. Would love to hear from you. This evening, we'll be talking about mental health, which is a very topical issue at the moment. Not only at the moment, it has always been, but it has somehow always been slid under the pillow. Most people would try to ignore it even when they know it's very existent. So please, if you can share, I'm going to share right now so that more people know it's very existent. So I'm going to share, sorry about that. I'm going to share right now so that more people can actually join us. So if you can share with your in your groups, share with your friends, I'll be delighted to have more people listening to us. So please make sure you're sharing just so that we get more people to know that we are live, so that we get more people to come and share with us. So today we'll have an amazing guest as well, and she would be sharing her experience with us because the theme of the year for mental health is it's time to prioritize mental health at the workplace. So she would be sharing with us her experience at the workplace and especially how she how she manages her mental health. So I would love to hear from you as well. If you can leave your comments, if you can share your opinion with us, it would be great to hear from you. So please make sure you're sharing so that we have people joining us for this session while we start in the next few minutes. So please make sure to share and then we'll get started. All right. So while waiting for our guest to join us this evening, I would like to give a few housekeeping rules. Please, no insults in the comments, no judgment. If you see someone's comment, please do not judge them. You don't know where they or how their journey has been. No judgment, please. And please make sure that you're making connections, because another thing in life is to make connections. You make connections with new people so that you can learn and grow together. Who knows, you could be sending Steffi, I just sent you the link there, unless I sent to the wrong person, but I'll do that again. So yeah, make sure you're making connections. You never know where those connections could lead. It could lead to big enterprises tomorrow. It could lead to big businesses and relationships. Please do not hesitate to make new friends. Um, Then another thing is, please make sure that you have your notepad and your pen or your notebook to take down notes. We want to be able to change the narrative. We want to be able to give people a new perspective of how they think and see mental health. So I just sent you the link there. Will I send that? I can send that in the chat as well, Steffi. In the comments, sorry. So for those watching on YouTube, you're welcome, okay? You're welcome. We haven't forgotten about you. We haven't forgotten you. Thank you so much for joining. All right, I think we have it on YouTube as well. We have it on Facebook. So anyone who would be interested in this conversation, you'd like to give your opinion, you would like to share your experience, do not hesitate to just click on the link and join us on stage, because the more the merrier. The more we hear from people, the better. So please make sure to join us on stage. Make sure that um, you're coming on live to tell us what your experience is. So now I think I've shared to a good number of people, and we'll get more people joining us in a second. Um, one more thing, and then we go live, or we would start. Steffi, I can see you on the background. You're welcome. I'll put you on stage in a minute. I just want to share one more time. Okay, perfecto. Oh, you can hear echoes. Could that be my microphone? Or maybe is it still echoing? All right, I'll add you on stage so I can actually hear you. Perfect. Can you hear me? Is it
I can hear you, but I hear echoes.
you have no oh, maybe that's my microphone there. Okay, give me 1 second. I'll try to adjust it.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Are there echoes?
Perfect. I can hear you now, Steffi. All right. So how are you doing today? Great to have you.
Hi, Annabel.
Good evening. How are you today?
I'm doing.
Good to see you.
I'm great. I'm great. Good to see you.
Perfect. So how have you been? How was your day? How is your day unfolding?
Just a regular day, but with lots of surprises. And I'm excited to be here on board. While we came on board together.
Yeah,
And I'm
it's
excited to see the new look.
please don't even go there. We're going to have this discussion after this. Thank you anyway. Thank you so much. All right. So um, I was just trying to share this so that more people will join us, because it would be nice to see people interacting. It would be nice to hear people's opinion about what we have to share today. So, um, as we celebrated World Mental Health Day on the 10th, I thought it great that um, we could come on live and then have a chat about what mental health is and how we can do to improve our mental health. So today I'm delighted to have you, but I guess our audience would like to know, who is Steffi? Who is Stephanie? Can you tell our audience who you are, please?
Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share on this beautiful platform. I'm also Stephanie. I'm a life coach. I'm a medical lab scientist, mother. I'm a sister. I'm an aunt, and I'm a woman.
You mentioned everything, but I didn't hear you say you are also you work somewhere, because I guess with the theme this year, you're going to be telling us how you manage your mental health at work. So just to put you on the spot there now. So thank you so much for joining me today. My own name is Annabel Lola. If you're joining me for the first time, I am the founder of Bezateli. I started Bezateli almost 3 years ago. I think we celebrated our third year in May. So it's Bezateli is 3 years old. Bezateli is an activewear brand that I started in order to encourage women to build themselves, to build their self-esteem, and then to be more confident in themselves. Because after I had my child, I felt like I was losing it. I was totally thinking of myself like I couldn't be me again. But I'm delighted that today I am here because I decided to go through that journey. I decided to take the journey of fitness. But the journey wasn't an easy one because when I started, I couldn't actually find I couldn't actually find the best gear for my exercise, but when I decided to create mine, it wasn't just a story of starting a sportswear brand, but it was a story of starting a journey where women will find a community where they come together, build themselves, not only in the aspect of exercising, but also about their mental status, their mental health. So I'm delighted to have another lady today on this journey with me, and we have been together for a while now. So today we'll be sharing our experiences, we'll be sharing our knowledge, and we'd love to hear from you as well. So if you're watching me today on Building Bridges is a platform I started in order to help women find their purpose. Oh, I talk about women, but it's not only a story of women. I help both men, women, and young people, but my main focus or my main passion is around women. So if you're a woman, you want to go this journey with me, do not forget to subscribe, to like the page, to add it as your favorite so that whenever we put up a video or when we are live, you'll be notified. So thank you so much once more for joining us today. And again, our topic is embracing our mental health, breaking the silence. As we all know, most people find it really difficult to talk about their mental health. Before, it used to be only men, or men still struggle with it. But today, we realize that mental health is a topic that not too many people are open to discussing about. And we want to break the silence today. We want to hear from you. We want you to share our experience, how it has been for us, so that together we can go this journey. So I would like to hear from Stephanie. When we talk about mental health, like what really comes to your mind, or if someone that's watching us right now would say, how do you define mental health? What will you tell them? I think
Hi,
the
Annabelle. Hi, everyone. I don't know if the echoes are just from my side, or is everybody getting the echoes so we could
I
correct
think
it.
I'm okay. I I'm okay. It might be maybe your computer if you're watching, if you're joining us from the computer.
Ah, I see. I think so. So I hope it's not affecting the whole everybody watching.
It's okay. Right now it's fine.
Okay, thank you so much. We'll just ride on. For me, what I'll say about mental health, I'll say mental health is just about you coping with the stresses of life, realizing that you have a lot to offer, and being able to learn well, being able to work well, and being able to contribute to your community.
Thank you so much for that definition. I get a few things: being able to be more practical, be more effective, which I think is very important when we think about our mental health. When you think of being more effective, you have to think of how mentally, how do I process it? How do I think about it? How do I see it? How does it make me feel? So I'll give the definition according to the World Health Organization. The World Health Organization tells us that mental health is a state of well-being where every individual can cope with normal stresses of life, work productively, and contribute to their community. So it just kind of, in a very simple way, says everything that you said. How do we contribute? How do we get more productive through the way we think, or how do we reduce stress in our day-to-day activities so that we can be more productive? So according to the mental health the World Health Organization, there is 1 in 4 people, at least in their lifetime, will suffer from a mental health situation, which I think is really alarming. And over 700,000 people globally die from a mental health disease, which is on the global scale. I think it's the fourth amongst the most deadly disease, which I think is very important, is the reason why we are talking about this today, so that people are more aware of what their stressors are, because most people don't even know what their stressors are. But if you're able to know what your stressors are, then you can go from there. You can improve your mental health from there. So we have to know that regardless of your age, your gender, your status, whether you call yourself rich or poor, or whatever you think you are, whether you're a male or female, whether your social class is the upper class, whatever thing you feel you are, we all struggle with our mental health at some point. So before we head on, I would like to also emphasize that we are not mental health specialists. If you're struggling with your mental health, we can guide you to an extent. But if you are already reaching the stage of depression, then you have to see a specialist. You have to take some therapy. So, as we head on, it's important to note that if you're struggling from stress, if you're struggling from anxiety, uh, depression, if you're bipolar, if you're struggling from, is it schizophrenia they call it? I always find it difficult to pronounce the word. But yeah, if you're struggling with schizophrenia, if you have post traumatic stress disorder, or you have ADHD, or even eating disorders, these are all due to mental health conditions. So it's time for you to think about it. How can I help myself? So, Steffi, if I ask you, or I guess most people would like to know, what do you think are some signs, or what are some symptoms? What are some of those things that we need to look out for from individuals to know if they're struggling with their mental health or not?
Okay, Annabelle, the first thing I want us to understand is that when we are talking about mental health, we have to think about the four pillars of mental health. We have the physical health, we have our emotional health, we have our cognitive health, and we have our social health. So when we come to these four pillars of mental health, if you want to look at the physical part, if you find out that you easily get tired, if you find out that you're always in pain, you have to know that that's a trigger telling you that something is wrong with you.
I
And
think
then
there is.
nextly also,
Sorry,
I want to
Steffi.
link it with the relationship.
Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yeah, I think there is one angle of your device that gives us better reception, because when you face a little bit the other side, we get it's breaking a little, so we can't get you properly. If
Okay,
maybe you can adjust your device a little bit.
okay. I will switch off the device. I'll try another device. I'll try connecting with another device.
Okay, perfect. So while waiting that you join us again, I'll try to give a few points on that. Then you can come in and at any stage. Thank you so much. All right. So while waiting for our guest to kind of adjust her device for better reception for each and every one of us, I would like us to look at a few signs. These are signs that indicate that you are either at at risk of getting a mental health illness, or you already have it actually. So some of the emotional signs you would find is persistent sadness. You would find someone who is always feeling down, someone who has really lost hope about life, or they're feeling helpless. They don't feel like they are worth it anymore. They feel like all hope is lost about life. Their situation is getting worse on a daily basis. They don't think about anything positive. They worry a lot. They struggle from anxiety. They don't have any interest in doing anything um, in their day-to-day activity, or they're constantly feeling irritated. This is one of the big signs. If you have these mood swings when you're always going from one she's requesting the link there. So if you're always going from one mood to the other, please make sure to look out for it. What are my stressors? What is the cause? What's the main thing that's making me feel that way? How can I get out of it? What are those thoughts that come to my mind before I get um to this time when I feel so moody, that I feel so low, that I feel like there is no hope to life anymore. So think about it in your life on or your day-to-day activities. What are those things that make you feel moody? They make you feel sad. And when you get into that phase, you can't really get out of it. Then we also have cognitive signs. Most times it's indicated through difficulty in concentrating. You find some people, they just struggle to focus. They can't make decisions on their own. They can't remember information. If you have this constantly, that you can't remember anything, you struggle to focus, you can't keep focus for 5, 10 minutes, for an hour, then there is something to look out for. Also, negative thought patterns. If you're constantly thinking about negative things, you're constantly criticizing yourself, you're constantly looking at things always from the negative point of view, then there is an issue. So I see our guest is here again. I'll try to add her. Perfect. Now I think we have a better view of you. You're looking good.
Thank you so much. Sometimes also technology tries to mess us up with our mental health.
Exactly. I think that's one point we are going to talk about. So when we get there, I'll just let you flow. Yeah. So you were talking about the four pillars of mental health. Can you please reiterate that for our audience?
All right, before we're talking about the four pillars of mental health, I was trying to say that if I would like to look for the indicators to see if we are having a mental health issue, I'll start by looking at the four pillars of mental health. One of the pillars of mental health is physical health. How is your physical health? Take, for example, you're working in a hospital. If you're not fit, it shows that your mental health is affected and you wouldn't be able to produce and give out the best of yourself. You wouldn't have the results you want. Why? Because you're constantly tired, you're constantly in pains, you are not well. We have to remember the WHO definition of health. It's a whole state of well-being. It involves the physical, involves the emotional, involves the mental, and even the social health. So, looking at the pillars of mental health, the next pillar of mental health we'll be dealing with is the emotional health. How are your emotions? If I'm going to ask this question, what are emotions? What comes to our mind? Every day we have to deal with emotions. Sometimes we are sad, sometimes we are happy. It goes a long way to affect our mental health. The next thing we have to think about is our cognitive health. That's the third pillar. Cognitive health, what's it talking about? Sometimes we just tend to forget even the things that we are not supposed to forget. That's a trigger. That's something that is telling you that my mental health is not okay. I'll take for example, it's true that I'm on this live, but I lost someone that is so dear to me. I lost my aunt and my cousin, may they rest in peace, in the space of 5 days. You wouldn't imagine that the day my aunt died, I forgot my daughter in school. So you can imagine, just to let you know that we all deal with mental health. We all have something that brings us down. So it's important for us to recognize these triggers, and then I will look for the antidotes, we'll look for the ways in which we can deal with them. The next thing, the next pillar of mental health is our social health. How is our social health? How do we relate with people? What kind of people do we relate with? All those things, they come along to play on our mental health. And if we work on these four pillars, we'll find out that our mental health is just going to be robust, as I can say it, and we're going to bring out the best of ourselves. Remember that mental health is all about dealing with the stresses of life, realizing that we have a lot to offer also. We should be able to learn well, we should be able to work well, and we should be able to contribute to the society. So if you look at this WHO definition of mental health, you find out that all of these four pillars have been touched. So we can always do a physical check, we can always do a mental check, we can always do a cognitive check, we can also always do a social check to be able to be sure that our mental health is intact. Thank you, Annabelle. I hope I answered you.
You definitely did. Thank you so much. Yeah, so I was just talking about the cognitive signs there, and I was talking about forgetfulness. And I'm glad that you actually mentioned that, because I realized that in the past couple of months, I literally forget everything. I have to put everything as a reminder. If not, it's not getting done. So from time to time, I have to check what's the next thing on my list that needs to be done. And this is because life is so busy. We carry that stress, we carry all those things into ourselves without actually separating ourselves from the busy nature of life. And I believe that by the end of this session, people should be able to separate themselves from the stressors of life. There are certain situations that we can't do without, that we have to deal with, but there are certain situations that we can say this is beyond my control, so I'm going to let it go. So we looked at uh we looked at the emotional signs as well, where we talked about persistent mood swings. If you're constantly having mood swings, is not a good sign. Now we'll look at some of the social signs, like our sister Stephanie mentioned here. If you see that someone is withdrawing from social gatherings, or they're isolating themselves from friends, especially if this is someone who was always very happy to hang out with people or to interact with people. If you realize that they're staying away from family, staying away from friends, please reach out to them. If you see that their routine is changing, they're no longer eating, sleeping, or even taking care of themselves, general hygiene, if they're not taking care of themselves anymore, or they've started drinking or smoking, whereas they didn't do that before, these are signs to look out for. So please, if you have family members who all of a sudden just started smoking, drinking, aren't taking care of themselves, isolating, it's a warning sign. Reach out to them and try to find out what's not going right, or how can you help them. Then for the physical signs, we notice fatigue. I think fatigue is something that we all struggle from time to time. But if it's becoming a usual thing, if it's becoming a normal thing, then it's something to look out for. Or if all of a sudden you start to gain some type of appetite, or you're gaining too much weight or losing too much weight, then you have to look out for yourself as well. Or if all of a sudden from nowhere you're getting too many frequent headaches, where is this headache coming from? You have to ask yourself. It could be a sign that your mental health is going down the drain. So think about it. Are you thinking a lot? Are you stressing a lot? Are you overworking yourself? Are you having enough sleep? Because these are some of the signs, these are some of the causes, and it affects our mental health in many ways. Then sometimes we can as well notice people as self harming. If you notice someone is self harming, whereas they didn't do that before, it's a way that they are expressing something which is in them. So maybe you can have that conversation with them to find out what is annoying them, or what has changed in their life. Why all of a sudden are they doing this to themselves? And also, if you see someone engaging in risky behavior, maybe all of a sudden they're going is in mountain climbing, whereas they didn't do that before, or they're engaging in some type of risky commitments. Ask yourself questions: that is he okay? And I think it's time to have that sincere discussion, and maybe find other ways to replace whatever is not going right in their life. So I don't know if Steffi, do you have anything to add before we move on to talking about how technology influences our mental health?
Okay, it's true that today we are talking about mental health. We are not talking about emotional health as a major topic, but I just want to let us to understand that our emotions have a lot to do with our mental health. Now, what I want to give today to the audience, especially to women, as this month is a month where there are so many important things. It's the month, it's the mental health month, especially since it was celebrated on the 10th. We also have the cancer awareness month. This is the pink month. And also a few days ago, it was the day of the girl child. So I just want to give this especially to women that are on board. There is something that we have to do often to make sure that our emotions are in check. You must be able to carry out an emotional checkup. So I'll just give you how you can carry out an emotional checkup. Now you have to, like, every week, not every week, let's say sometimes you can just sit and you want to carry out an emotional check. The first thing you should do is that look at your patterns in the space of a week. We have to learn to journal. That's the first thing. You have to write out all the emotions that you were feeling. Now you start looking at day one. Was I sad today? How many times was I sad? Was I happy? How many times was I happy? We have to also understand that we have 5 to 6 major emotions. We have happiness, we have sadness, we have anger, we have fear, we have anxiety. You know, just try to make a chart. Note how many times was I angry? How often was I sad? How often was I happy? How often was I anxious? And then now, that's the first diagnosis you have to carry out. The next thing you have to do is that try now to look for the triggers. What caused me to be happy? What caused me to be sad? Why was I anxious? Why was I fearful? Why was I angry? Now, when you come out with these triggers, you try now to understand what caused all of those emotions. The next thing you have to do is that you must look for an antidote. They say the antidote to malaria could be it could be at the queen, it could be quaterm. But also, every emotion has an antidote. If you're sad, what can I do to make myself happy? You do it. If I'm afraid, what can I do to make myself afraid? The first thing is that why am I even afraid? It's so important to be able to come out with an antidote to every emotion we're feeling. The next thing you have to do is that now be confident about yourself. You have to really be confident about yourself. Then you go ahead, you make a plan. And sometimes most of these emotions that we feel, they have occurred before in the past. So look at how you handled that emotion in the past. And when you look at how you handled the emotion in the past, certainly you'll be able to handle the emotion this time. I really want to insist on this because Women, we have periods. We have periods where our hormonal balance is some sort of, it goes up, it comes down. So when you know your body, when you understand your emotions, especially during those periods, you're just going to be at peace yourself, and your mental health is going to be intact, and you're going to be productive in every area of your life. I noticed that when my emotional health is not intact, how do I notice it? I notice from my bedroom. My bedroom is not orderly. When my emotions are not intact, I don't even care about myself. I can just get up and go to work. Normally, I'm somebody that I'm so conscious about how I dress, how I do my makeup, or how I carry myself. But when I start seeing myself not doing the things that I love doing, I know something is very wrong. And that's already a call for an action to be taken. So, ladies and gents, also, you can help your spouses, you can help your sisters, you can help your wives. For the men, to do an emotional check often, it's going to help them a lot. And when a woman is healthy mentally, emotionally, everywhere, everything is just on point, everything goes on well. That's what I had to add.
Thank you so much. I like the fact that you always personalize it. You talked about you you talked about yourself, because it's very important that we are able to know our triggers. Or if you even if you can't know your triggers, you need to be able to to recognize it, know that I am entering that phase where my stress levels have increased. So what can I do? How can I try to balance it up? Is it that I'm overworking myself at work, or is it that the house chores are too many for me, or is it the kids? What's making me overstressed? Is it school? Whatever thing you may be engaged in, maybe it's your business. Is it your business that's stressing you up? If yes, try to have a plan for yourself. How can I bring this at bay? How can I reduce the stressors? Or what are those activities that aren't really helping me at all, that I need to just let go of them? So thank you so much for sharing that, Stephanie. And I guess each one of us know what those signs are. Sometimes some of us will stay in pajamas. I remember when I had my youngest boy, I used to stay in pajamas all day. Like, I'll have my shower and put on my pajamas. In the evening, I'm still in. So literally the entire day I was in pajamas, because I was like, after all, I'm not going anywhere. After my exercise, it's just pajamas all day. And it was in the heart of COVID. So it's not always very easy, but it's for you to notice those signs. It's for you to notice those stressors and try to improve them, try to change them, or try to find help around them. Always have a support system. Who are those people that I can turn to? Who is that person that I can speak to, that I can confide in, and then they'll help me through this phase of my life. Sometimes it could even be your relationship that's stressing you up. It could be your academics. It could be your work. But ask yourself, how do I get out of this? Who is that person that I can speak to? Sometimes we have some workplaces, I guess they have counselors. You can go to your counselor at work. Even in school, most schools have counselors, whether you're in primary or secondary school or university. Most schools have counselors. Do you want to go to the counselor for a chat, explain whatever you think is not going right, and then they'll help you come up with a plan? Or if it's beyond their control, they would say, okay, we suggest you go for therapy. But always know your stressors and write them down. Some people love journaling. Write it down so that you know that every time this happens, this is what happens to me in turn. Like, sometimes when I'm so stressed, and when I want to know that I have attained my level, I start having palpitations. Once I start having palpitations, I know that I have attained that level where I need to slow down on myself. So ask yourself, what are those things that make me either to start acting in a different way or to act in an unusual way? Then you start working on those. If you can't help yourself, seek help. So the next thing I would have loved us to discuss with our guests is how technology influences our mental health. As we all know, technology is a great part of our lives today. It's it's the reason why you can hear me from whether Africa, America, um, Asia, wherever you find yourself. I know there are people watching me from America. I can see some people joining me from Nigeria, from Ghana, from South Africa, from Congo, Gabon. But ask yourself, how is this impacting my mental health? How is this in some way or some form affecting my self esteem? Or how is this the cause of my depression or the anxiety I'm currently facing? If we look, one of the main impacts of social media, or one of the biggest things that social media will cause, is cyberbullying and harassment. Especially when we talk about cyberbullying, we look at our young people in particular, because young people are the most vulnerable, and some of our older adults. How are they getting bullied online? When some of these people just contact them, they might start making requests from them. And when they are unable to answer those requests, or when they can't give in to these people contacting them, then they'll start to bully them. Or they'll start to tell them that if you don't do this, I'm going to publish your photos you've sent to me. If you don't send me some money. So, how then does this affect their mental health? Because once you know that if my pictures are out there, everyone will see it, and it will be a big shame on me. So this affects their self-esteem. Another thing really is that social media has become a platform where there is so much competition, and young people are even more vulnerable. But older adults, or adults in the mid adults, in their mid ages, that is from 40, 30 and above, they are not excluded, because the comparison is so visible. You see, some people put up their posts, I just got a new house, I just got a new car, whereas you're unable to have three square meals, as we say it, on a daily basis. I just got this new beautiful branded shoes or watch. This makes some people feel inadequate, and then they start to stay on their own. They start staying away from people, which doesn't help their mental health in any way. And then the final point I'll raise here before I pass on to my guest is technology affects our relationships, because it can lead to addiction. Technology makes us to stay away from our family members, rather than spending some time chatting with your siblings, or with your sisters, with your brothers, with your children. You're on social media for hours. You're slowly getting addicted. You don't know. Sometimes some of us lose our sleep, even because we are spending hours. You see, you went on that social media platform to watch one video, then you watch the next and the next and the next, then finally you spent over 2 hours, whereas you should have been sleeping that 2 hours. So Stephanie, do you have anything to add on the negative side, or maybe the positive? How do you think social media or technology affects our mental health?
Annabel, you said something interesting. Technology, the the use of technologies is that it makes us to become so dependent on it. That's so true, which is an addiction. This just brought in mind a video. I don't know if it's a video or it's a picture I saw, where even during meal times, you see people, the father is on the phone, the mother is on the phone, the children on the phone, and nobody talks to anybody. That's something that the phone really does, or technology. But on the other hand, that's why we are talking mental health, where we have to be able to control ourselves. We must be able to get to a point where we must be able to think, we must be able to break that cycle, to put the barrier when it's becoming so much. Now, we also have to understand that technology, it's true that it's influencing us, influencing our mental health negatively, but I want to say that it's also a very, very good thing. I would say that Annabelle and I we've never met, but we've been on social media for 4 years. For 4 years, we've connected a lot with many other people on the platform. I see Christelle is also there, and it was thanks to technology because we got connected during in 2020 during COVID. And I bet you social media kept people going during that period because if people didn't have the ability to do other things, to work from home, it would have been a whole mess. But on the other hand, also, it also contributed to so many deaths because, I mean, there was a time when every time they come, they're like, okay, 2,000 deaths today. You know, when you just see it like that, you say, Pam, it's just like, I'm going to the next person. I'm going to the next person. So, though there are ills, there are also the positive, the advantages of social media. But now we also have to understand that too much of everything, excess of everything becomes bad. Now we're talking of the excesses. If we spend our time on technology, we spend our time on the phones, we spend our time talking to people virtually and not meeting them physically, sometimes we will not be able to sleep on time because nobody is there to control your sleep pattern. And sleep plays a very major role in mental health. If you don't sleep well, you wouldn't be productive. Imagine you went to bed late, you have to wake up early, you have to be productive at work. You wouldn't be. There's a time where you have to pay back. It's just like the law of karma. If you don't sleep, sleep will get back to you sometime within the day. And you may not be able to do your task properly, you may not be able to even complete the task, and sometimes you may even mess up because your brain is not functioning properly. Another thing is that social media also, like you said, Annabelle, there's a lot of there are lots of misleading behaviors on social media, meaning that we have to do checks. We have to help our sisters, our siblings, our younger ones to be able to control the sites to go to. They have to control the kind of people they follow and all that. But on the other hand, I'll still insist that social media is a good thing. Now we have people watching us everywhere. It's just because they are able to use technology. So though it has its vices, there are virtues, and uh we must capitalize on the virtues and try now to bring in techniques that we can limit the devices. That's what I think.
Yeah. And like you said, we have never met each other and we're connecting for 4 years now online. I think social media, like you said, definitely it has its advantages and disadvantages because for how many years I haven't seen my family in person, but we connect on a daily basis on social media. So totally it has its place, and
Mhm.
we can't swap it for anything, but it's minimizing or knowing how to use it more effectively. And in with respect to our discussion tonight, I would like to mention that some people have their therapists online. They've never met their therapist. Yes, I know I have a mental health disorder, so I connected with this person online, or I found this website online, and I decided to join a therapist, which after discussion I thought would be able to help me. So they're connecting with this person online. There are also social media websites that are there to create awareness about how people can manage their mental health, or what are the signs to look out for really when you're struggling with your mental health. Also, there is a lot of resources on social media that helps us on how to manage our mental health. Some of the things we are sharing tonight are things that we have experienced ourselves, while others are things that we had to go and do research on, or we were taught by someone else who is in the field. So there is a lot of positivity on how people can use social media to manage their mental health. You can find a therapist, you can raise awareness, you can join groups just to know more about mental health. These are a few positive signs I can raise about the positive side of social media or technology as a whole. And I think there are also some apps that people use um, for their mental health, which is also good. That's a positive side of of technology as well. I can off my head right now and I can think of an app called Headspace. Just from the name Headspace, it tells you that maybe if you kind of use that app, it will teach you to be more effective. You can get more clarity in your mind about what you're doing. I also think of, I think it's Attitude and Gratitude Journal. So these are two apps that people struggling with their mental health can download and it will help them. Maybe some of the services might be paid, but I believe that the free ones will help you in some way or some form. So let's not completely discard the importance of social media or technology, but let's use it wisely. I remember at some point I had to kind of set a reminder on my phone or on some social media apps. I can't have access to them for more than an hour a day, because that only does not help you for your mental health, but it also helps you for discipline. An hour on one specific app is such a long time. Imagine what else you could be doing, or who else you could be speaking with, who would bring who will give you a solution to one of your problems, or who you can give a solution to. So I believe that as much as social media or all these sites are important, we just need to be more conscious of how we manage our time around it. So, on the final aspect of this evening, I would like us to have a discussion around how, or some practical things. I mean, these would be mainly very simple things that we can incorporate on our day to day life in order to make sure that our mental health is 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 will I say it's well performance, or will I say it's in good health? Our mental health is in good health. Maybe that's the right way to say it. But we want to share with you a few simple tricks that you can do to make sure that everything goes right for you on a day-to-day basis. And I'll share a few, and then our sister Steffi is going to share with us a few tricks how she manages her work, especially because the theme is in relationship. It's in relation to work and mental health balance. How do you balance your work with your mental health? So, the first thing that comes straight to my mind is mindfulness. Sometimes just having that time of calm when you think of nothing, you worry about nothing, is very important. Have that moment in your day when you're not sleeping, you're right awake, but you're not thinking about anything, you're not worrying about anything, you're not even worried that what will happen tomorrow or in the next few hours. You're just breathing, just listening to yourself breathe. Or you can just play some cold soft music in the background. If you like gospel music like I do, you can play some soft worship song and just don't think about anything. Or if you want to go into a moment of meditation, that's okay. But don't put yourself in that space where your brain is still working. That, what am I going to cook tomorrow? What dress are the kids going to wear? How will they get to school? How is work going to look like? How is school? How is Just have a cold, calm mind. The second thing would be to limit your screen time. Yes, we've talked about how social media has positive advantages, but would you rather spend that time with family, with friends, with people who value you, or you'd spend it on a social media platform where you're going to see somebody who bought a nice dress and then she's showing her swag? Uh, she's showing her swag on social media, and then you're so upset, you're so angry that this girl, she's showing the way we say it. You're just so upset that somebody is showing off her dress. Why are you upset, please? You're taking your money and your time to be upset. That's not nice. This person is on social media making the best of her time. Who knows? Maybe she borrowed the dress, maybe she bought it. But you shouldn't take your time and your money that you're buying data with to get upset. So I would say limit your screen time, practice mindfulness, and then set boundaries. Make people, like, if you are an employee or a student or whatever um, career or whatever thing you do in life, make sure that you have a balance. Always try to strike a balance. If you're working 8 hours a day, how do I catch up? How do I rest when I have to come home and still be the one to do the laundry, still be the one to do the cooking, and then the kids need my attention? I need to do their homeworks. How do you strike a balance? Please, ladies, if you're listening to me, make sure to drop your comments. Make sure to drop what is resonating with you, because I would like to see the comments coming in so that we know that you're actually following us, so that we know that we are making sense in this discussion. Please, if there is something in particular you would have loved to hear us talk about, you can drop it in the comments. If we can't answer you right now, we would definitely make sure that we are able to answer you in our next live. So please keep the comments coming. Would like to see them, would like to hear from you. We would like to know that you're actually following us. So yeah, like I said, set boundaries. At work, if you know that my time is 8 hours work, be the most productive in those 8 hours and switch off work. I know some of us do certain jobs that we mentally take a lot home, but you must be able to separate yourself from your work, because if you can't do that, you have mental overload, which will lead to anxiety, stress, depression. It will still lead you to what we are talking about. So try to switch off work when you're at home and make the most of your time with your family. Try to see who can help me. How can I really reduce my time? Maybe reducing your cooking time by how many, but like try to facilitate processes. I, for instance, I pre-make my spices when I go shopping. I pre-make my spices for like a month and just refrigerate them, because when I'm in the kitchen I just want to be putting, adding, stirring, and I'm finished. As we all know, African food, it takes long to cook. Oyibo, 2 minutes, 15 minutes max, they're done and they're eating. But our food takes hours to cook. So if I have to do that, I make sure that as I'm adding, I'm doing something else. I hardly do just cooking. If I'm cooking, maybe I'm listening to a video. I'm cooking, I'm doing something else. So how more productive can you be? But the main point I want to stress on, please set your boundaries. Whatever you think is your stressor, if it's your work, your academics, try to find a balance. How do I find a balance? Maybe I can study 4 hours a day and then take a 2 hours break or a 1 hour break. Then I continue for another 2 hours. Then that's it for the day. But try to get a balance. So, Steffi, this mental health, we were talking about work life balance for a better mental health. Tell me, how do you manage your mental health at work, especially, or how do you strike balance?
Okay, Annabel, I'll start by saying that I'm guilty. I'm guilty because I spend a lot of time at work. But I'll say that I try to bring that balance by making sure that even though I spend a lot of time at work, I try to set intervals where I relax. I don't just spend the whole time. If I'm working paperwork, I don't spend the whole time there. I get up sometimes, I stretch, and I just stand somewhere and I just close my eyes and I breathe in a quiet place. It's so, so, so refreshing. Then another thing I do is I like joking a lot. So I'll just move to another unit and make somebody laugh. I just like the whole place to be lit up, to be in harmony. And it makes it most often that another way that I check to see if I'm not well. If somebody comes and says, Steph, c'est comment aujourd'hui, je t'ai pas vu, I'll just understand that I'm stressing. I haven't met people. When I get up, I meet people, I talk with people, I make people laugh. You know, I always try to spread positivity everywhere I go and to the people around me. Another thing I do is I try to eat healthy. Yes, I try as much as possible to eat lots of fruits and vegetables. And something that I know I have to do that sometimes I really have to switch off my phone and do is to sleep. I'm guilty. They say that we have to sleep for 8 hours, we have to work for 8 hours, we have to use the other 8 hours to bring balance with fun, family, and maybe other things that we have to do. I'm guilty about that. So to be able to sleep, sometimes I really have to switch off my phone and put it right in the living room. I have to put it far away so that I'm not going to want to take it to do something. For me, it's important to know that physical exercise is very important, sleep is very important, and healthy I thought physical exercise, sleep, and healthy eating, it brings that balance also. It brings that balance. And then try to join a community of people that are positive. Try to join a community of people that inspire you, a community of people also that you can also inspire them. We have to understand that we don't just have to be inspired all the times, but we also have to inspire other people. We also have to help other people to level up, as I always say. And it's good for us to understand that we live one day at a time, and yet that one day we're living an eternity. So we have to really be intentional about our mental health. We have to be intentional about doing our emotional checks. We have to be intentional about our physical state, and we really have to be intentional about our cognitive health. Thank you, Annabelle.
Thank you so much, Steffi. I really like the fact that you're always very practical and very real about yourself. But today, I think this is a question for you for the end of this session. How do you think after this conversation you can improve on that? The fact that you don't have enough sleep or you spend too much um, time at work. How can you, after this conversation, how can you improve upon that? Because I believe this is the reason for this. I'm more action oriented.
Okay,
We
then.
don't talk and go. We need to take action. So how are you taking action from today?
So from today, I'm taking action by setting boundaries. Important for us to set boundaries. When it's time to work, it's time to work. When it's time to sleep, it's time to sleep. When it's time to spend time with family and doing other things, we just do it. That's just the message for all of us.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that reply. Ladies, please can we give some hands of applause for our sister Stephanie? Please, I would like to see some clapping in the chat, in the comments for her. She's learning to
Spreading
set
some love.
She's learning to set boundaries, which I want to encourage each and every one of us. It might not only be related to your mental health, in every aspect of your life, you need to set boundaries. You must be able at some point to say, no, enough is enough, I'm moving on. It could be in your relationship, it could be at work, it could be sometimes you feel like, oh, I lost my job or I quit my job. It's not the end of life. Ride on, life moves on. There is something better ahead for you. So please set boundaries and then you forge ahead. Stephanie mentioned two things that I would like to reiterate on. She talked about exercising. Exercising doesn't have to be something cumbersome. Choose a video. You could maybe try a dance video. I love to dance as well. So sometimes I could just be dancing for an hour or 30 minutes of my day, and I know that's my exercise done. If you like walking, you like jogging, you like yoga, something which is much calmer, which is much more mindfulness oriented, go for yoga. Go for those exercises that are more calming, but do something, get something out of your day. you realize that every time you start your day with an exercise, your mind, you already clear headspace. And aside from clearing headspace, you feel like there is a burden that has been lifted up you. So please make sure to take your exercise serious. If you haven't been doing so, start from a 15 minutes exercise. Then she also talked about healthy eating. Healthy eating, have a balance between your fruits, your veggies, your grains, your proteins. How are you incorporating all of that? And most especially, please hydrate. Where's my bottle of water? I can't pick it up. But yes, make sure you have your water around you all the time. My latest secret is I always drop some lemon inside, because that will make me to really want to drink more, because water on its own sometimes feels too pale to be drinking or to be sipping. But once I know I'll feel that fresh scent of lemon, it encourages me to drink more. So you can have your water with lemon inside, or mint, or cucumber, whatever you think that works for you. But please stay hydrated. And then avoid sugary food, sugary drinks. Most of us that are in Europe and America, because we are always in a rush to go somewhere. We are in a rush for work, we are in a rush for school, or whatever we may have engaged ourselves in. We are always tempted to go for fast food. Please, reduce fast food. I won't say avoid it, but reduce it. If you can make your food, if you can make your dinner and take it to work the next day, that's going to spare you some expenses, and it's also going to keep you healthy. So please reduce your consumption of sugary drinks. I see some people would say, I now drink this one because it's zero sugar. Please, if if they say it's zero sugar, so what's making it sweet? Ask yourself those questions. Um, so talking, we just mentioned exercise and then healthy eating. And please, so when you're buying your exercise outfit, make sure you check bezateli.com, okay? www.bezateli.com. And then join our community. We want to see your photos, we want to see your videos, how you're exercising in our gear. Then you can keep a gratitude journal. Imagine that if every day you can remind yourself of something that was more rewarding, was an achievement to you, or was something that made you proud of yourself, rather than thinking of yourself as an unworthy person or like someone who knows nothing. You would focus on that time when you achieved something, when you were praised for something, when you had a positive experience. This is going to help boost your morale. It's going to encourage you to even want to do more. So rather than thinking of the negative side of things, think of the positive things that have happened in your life. And then finally, seek medical assistance. If you have reached the threshold, please find a therapist. If you think you're still struggling, find someone who can help you. I think I did. I'll see where are my notes there. I'll try to open my notes at some stage. For those in Ireland, I did write down a few places where, if I hope I'll be able to find it. I did write down a few places. One that comes right off the top of my head is the Cork Counseling Services. That's a free service if you're struggling with your mental health. Please, you can go to them. They'll coach you. They might do some group sessions. They have therapists there for your counseling. Please join a place that will help you. Don't stay on your own. The sooner it is diagnosed, the better. We all know where the worst case scenario of mental health can lead us to. So please get help, seek help. Um, I think I did write it somewhere, but I just have to find it. Yeah. So seek help. Find groups that will help counsel you. Find friends. I don't know, Stephanie, would you know any services maybe in Douala or anywhere in Cameroon that can
Of
help people struggling with their mental health?
Yes,
Go on.
in all of our hospitals, the reference hospitals, we do have people that are in charge of that. For example, the regional hospital in Bamenda just opened a unit for mental health issues. And we have Ma Anyangwe, who has been posted there. She's a mental health counselor. We also have in most, for example, especially in the Northwest region, with lots and lots of things happening there. We all know of the crisis that we are going through. So we have counselors, we have mental health counselors everywhere. In the hospital where I work at La Quintini, we have a whole unit where both users of the services and also those working there can go there, and they are really going to be helped. And I think that there's so many other places in in Yaoundé, even in Douala, and everywhere in the West, where we can have counselors that are there, that are waiting, they're just waiting for us. Unfortunately, in Cameroon, people often think that if you go to those kind of places, it means that you are mad or you have a mental problem. But I just want us to understand that mental health is not about having a mental disease. It's not that you're mad, you're running through the streets. We all go through something that we need somebody to help us out.
Thank you so much for that response. So, if you're watching us from Cameroon, you've got over 3 or 4 places where you can go, and to your main hospital where you go to, there is definitely a
Okay,
counselor.
fine now.
So
Yeah.
please do not stay on your own. I want to emphasize on this. We don't just like to come live, we like to come and give value to people. We like to come and make people find a solution to something they're struggling with. If you're struggling, seek help. Talk to a friend. If it's above your friend, talk to a counselor. If it's above that counselor, let them refer you for therapy. Do not get to the extent where, as my sister said, you'll be walking down the streets without your pants on. Please, let's avoid that when it's still time. So, I would like us to maybe address a few mental health stigmas. How can we address this? The first thing is, I know there is lack of awareness. My sister has just mentioned it there. She said most people, when they see you going for counseling, they think that you have already gone overboard or you're already in the depressive state. It's not the case. On the contrary, you're being very smart, you're being very intelligent to seek help when it's still time. So please, let's reduce the stigma. Let's stop looking at those who go to those services as people that have a condition already, or as people who maybe they don't even know what they're doing. And this also goes down to our men. Please, all the men that are listening to us, we would like to see your comments as well. We saw the ladies. We would like to see your comments. Men have always thought that mental health can not affect them. Isn't that so strange? Like, especially the African men, they think mental health is not is a farce. Like, they think it's not real. So we need to encourage our men. We need to, I think our sister had a network issue there again, but we need to encourage our men. We need to help them understand that it's okay to go through certain things. It's okay not to be okay. Like my sister said at some point during her sharing, it's okay sometimes not to be okay. And if you're not okay, seek help. You don't have to be okay all the time. When you're not okay, seek help. Make sure that you're talking with someone. Make sure you're hanging with someone who is positive. Make sure that you're speaking with someone who encourages and loves you. Don't just think that because I am facing this situation, I'll stay in on my own, or don't even think that this thing is not real, because most people are in denial of the fact that they can face that situation. And so when we get to realize that maybe they are going through depression or through anxiety or through stress, they're going, like, they're already at the worst extreme, where they have to maybe go into institutions and start taking drugs. So please, let's all take our mental health serious. Talk to someone. listen to people, and then get help. The second thing is we should have open conversations about um, mental health. I think this really sums up the first point very clearly. Let's be open to talk about it in our workplaces, in our community halls. When they're talking about mental health, let's attend. In our family, as a family, let's talk about mental health. In our schools, let's educate the children about mental health, especially the teenagers, because when they get into the teenage ages, the changes in hormones affecting them, and then the peer pressure too is affecting them. So we have to know that teenagers, our young people, are the most vulnerable. It doesn't exclude us, the older or the younger adults. It doesn't exclude us in any way, but let's make sure that we are having those conversations where people know exactly what to look out for, what are those signs. And then finally, let's advocate for mental health. There are so many policies that need to be put in place, whether you're in Africa, you're in America, you're in Asia, or you're in Australia, wherever you find yourself. Let's make sure that the policies that are put in place are in favor of those, or helps to support. Saying that are in favor is not necessarily a good way, but saying that the policies that should be put in place should be in line or should support people that are struggling with their mental health. So I hope this was of great interest to you. I hope this is an hour well spent. Please, if you have any questions, make sure to drop them in the comments, in the comment section. We will take a few questions or a few comments before we go. I hope our guest is struggling to reconnect with us. But yes, please drop your comments, drop your questions. We would like to attend to them before we go. And thank you so much again for joining us. We truly appreciate. We hope it was worth your time. If there are any topics in particular you would like us to cover, please do not hesitate to comment them down there in the comment section, or do not hesitate to drop me a message at any point, or to drop our guest, because I guess some of you would be joining me from her invite. So please do not hesitate to contact her. Drop your questions, drop whatever topics you'd like us to cover next, and then we would be delighted to create content. We'll be delighted to find experts to come and share on those topics. So while waiting, I don't know if Stephanie, you have anything to add to this discussion before we go, while waiting for the comments, while waiting for the questions.
Okay, while waiting for the comments, while waiting for the questions, all I can say is that we should keep reminding ourselves that at any point in time we can have issues. But what is important is how we handle the issues. We must be able to understand ourselves, we must be able to know ourselves, to grow ourselves. So when you know yourself, when you know that I have started forgetting to do the things that I love doing, I must do a mental health check. I must be able to seek help. When I start seeing that I am in pains, I have constant headaches, I am always tired, that's just telling you that you're overworking yourself, you're not bringing that balance. Because all about life is bringing the balance. When you see that I spend so much time, I've started eating more than I used to eat, I've started sleeping a lot, because we do not talk about this, but we talked about not sleeping. Oversleeping is also a sign showing that something is wrong. When you start oversleeping, it shows that you're sad. It's telling you that you're becoming depressed. You have to start looking at what is not going on well. When you start also overdoing the things that you were doing, because we've talked about underdoing, now overdoing. Let's say you're not the kind of person that used to wear a lot of makeup, you start doing heavy makeup. There's a problem. There's an insecurity somewhere inside of you. So we just need to know ourselves. When we know ourselves, we can be able to deal with our mental health.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. Really, I truly appreciate your time to have shared with us today your experience, to have shared with us your knowledge in the field and your personal knowledge as well, acquired knowledge. So, I would like to say to all those that have listened to us today, I really hope that you have a take home message. As you can see, I was sipping my water there because I like to do by example. Please stay hydrated. Stephanie has
That's
talked about
nice.
overdoing. If you're overdoing as well, ask yourself, why am I overdoing? So always be in that phase where you're checking the boxes. You're checking the boxes. But it doesn't mean that you have to become a psychic all the time to just like say, like you have to live your life as always, as usual, but make sure that you're taking your time to think of what's going right, what's not going right, so that you correct what's not going right before it gets to the worst extreme. So, yeah, thank you so much, Stephanie. We've talked about mental health today. Some people may be struggling with their mental health, but it could be a spiritual issue. So, if you're in
Yep.
Cameroon, I would like to invite you to Boya on the 1st and 2nd of November. My spiritual teacher is having a crusade in Boya, Cameroon at the banquet hall. Please make sure to, I think I'm going to post the flyer on this page on Building Bridges with Annabel. If you're in Cameroon, wherever you find yourself, I would like to invite you there. You'll be a life changing experience. Maybe that's what you need for your mental health. Maybe that's what you need for your spiritual health, or maybe for your physical health. But your life will definitely not be the same. Sometimes you have an encounter with some people who change your life forever. So please make sure that if you can spare the time, do not hesitate to go. You won't regret it. So, like we said, your mental health could need a breakthrough from a spiritual point of view. So, thank you once more for joining us. I guess what we shared was so enjoyable to listen. I can't see any questions today, so I'm going to call it off for the day. Stephanie, do you have a final word for our guests before we go?
What I'll have to say is just a take home message. You have to understand that. Imagine that you are that tea bag. You're a tea bag. When you look at the tea bag, you can't really say how it is. You can't say if it's strong or it's not strong. But when you put it in hot water and you sip it, that's when you know how strong the tea bag is. I just want to let everyone know that we are that tea bag and we are stronger when we are challenged. We are stronger when we are put to the test. And that's when we realize that we have a lot of potential in us. So, whatever is stressing you, whatever is bringing you down, when you handle it, when you take action, you realize that you are that strong person. You're capable of moving mountains and you were born to win. Thank you so much.
I love that phrase. You were born to win. You were born to dominate. So take that home as your message. I am not living this life the same, though I hosted this life, but I believe that my life has been impacted. I believe that I am living a much happier and a much healthier person because I'm going to be more mindful of everything we've spoken about today. I want you to do the same because your life will never be the same again. Thank you so much for listening to us, and we'll see you again very, very soon. Please keep an eye on this page. We love you and we care about you. Bye bye.